Jai Shri Gurudev ki Jai, Shri Bhakti Thakur ki Jai, Sri Harinama Cintamani ki Jai. Okay, so now we continue. We go again with Sri Bhakti Thakur away from this winter cold Vrindavan. We go to Jagannath Puri, sunny beach under the bakul tree. So you remember last meeting, the discussion, no? The whole discussion started with a question of Mahaprabhu. What's the question?
How to easily deliver the souls.
Yes. How to easily deliver the souls. So then we already started discussion. This is the first chapter of Harinama Cintamani. Haridas, in answering this question, he was first discussing Sambandha Tattva, talking about Bhagavan, meaning he's all-powerful. He's Vibhu. Vibhu means all glorious. His glorious. Glorious meaning Vaibhav. The term Vaibhav meaning his glories. Bhagavan is all glorious, all powerful. What makes him powerful? His power, his glories. So that's Vaibhav. So Vaibhav meaning his potencies. So he has three potencies, or three glories, or Shakti, however you interpret it. And what is that? You remember? Chit, Achit, and the jiva. Now, then we explained all this. Now, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Haridas Thakur, he started explaining like this, because he's establishing this proper understanding for our benefit. That, because some people may say, like, why the jivas have to be delivered? You know, what's the situation? So then he explained. Why are you laughing? Why the jivas have to be delivered? There's no need to be delivered.
There's many questions. Why?
So the jivas, Mahaprabhu, he understands how the jivas are suffering. Now, a lot of people, they're totally in Maya. They don't even know. They don't even consider themselves suffering. They're suffering so much, but they think that it's okay. Anyhow, so Haridas Thakur, he was explaining the jivas by nature. The jivas, they are Vaibhav of Krishna, and by nature they are pleasure seeking. They're looking for happiness. Those who seek happiness towards Krishna, they surrender to Krishna, then they become his associates. And those who seek happiness away from Krishna, independently, they try to enjoy themselves, then they go deeper in this material entanglement. They stay in this world of Maya. These are the bound jiva. These are the jivas that Mahaprabhu is talking about, like how to deliver all these jivas. Understand? Okay, so then now we go to our topic. Haridas Thakur proceeded. He's glorifying Mahaprabhu. Said, he's telling Mahaprabhu that, like, you're the Supreme Lord, and you are very compassionate, you're very merciful. So you see how your servants are suffering. All the jivas are your servants, and you see how they're suffering. So you yourself have arranged systems to take them. See, really, because without God's intervention, really, jivas, it's impossible to get them right. So then, in this chapter, Bhakti Haridas, he's explaining about karma, and the path of Gyan, and the path of Bhakti. So he says that for the benefit of the jiva, there's the path of karma. We all know what karma is, right? So there's like many scriptures for those who are in that adhikar, karma adhikar, meaning they want sense gratification. So to try to, like, how do you, like, attract them, Then the scriptures, like the Vedas, they give them some process. It's like, oh, you do like this, and then you can go to heaven. In heaven, you can enjoy so much, you know. Or your business will become prosperous. You will have economic development. Just do this, like all these activities. So there's this process of like Shubha Karma. You do pious activities. Like one is like doing Varnashram Dharma. You're doing your Dharma according to your Varna or Ashram in society. You know, you do it properly. And you offer, like, you do like good things. So there's many recommended activities in karma. So when we say karmi, we're talking about people who are following this the Vedas in this path of karma. Understand? The main motivation really is for their own like sense gratification. So they follow because it's like calculation. You know, they calculate like businessmen. They calculate and I'll have profit. So there is also the process of Gyan. For those who later understand that, oh, this world is like really a place of suffering, then they seek like knowledge, you know, and so they speculate and they seek here and there, like, what is the solution? Ultimately, they want liberation, and this is the fruit of this Gyan. Oh, they'll be liberated, and it's the Vedas. They have a process for this. The Vedas is like giving all this process where the jivas, after knowing the truth, they realize that they're spirit, and mostly they go towards this path of impersonal liberation. The highest liberation they attain is this merging with the Brahma Jyoti. Understand? Now, these activities are somehow good. This is Krishna's arrangement. These are hint of his. Harada is telling, these are hint of your mercy. Why? Because this leads to, it captures all these jivas, these suffering jivas, to follow an indirect path to bhakti. How is that? By following karma. They learn to become selfless. You know, ultimately, when you engage in varnashram and all these activities of karma, now you try to forget, although there's desire for your own, but then you try to sacrifice something. You know, you try to give to the poor, like this. You follow your dharma, and ultimately, later on, also, they because this is like they're recommended in the karma that you offer the results of the fruits of your activities to God. You offer yajna, like this, offer it to God. So then somehow they're learning, okay, I sacrifice something, and this gives them a chance to associate with devotees somehow. And that will be like the benefit of this one. From this, it leads them to indirect path of devotion, and from there, somehow they get some connection. You know, if they could connection with some bhakta, then that bhakta will plant the seed of faith in their heart, so that later on they become attracted to the direct path of devotion. Understand? Following? No? Someone may be like feeding. He's feeding. He likes to feed poor people. Like, he's following Ekadasi or whatever. Because, Ekadasi also, karmis they follow. So they're not doing this for bhakti. They're doing for karma. And then after that, they're offering like charity, like this. By their charity, who knows, they're giving gifts to bhakta. Understand? By their contact with some bhakta, or by their following Ekadasi, then they meet some bhaktas also following Ekadasi. right? And by that contact, then some harikatha they hear, or some impressions of bhakti from that Vaishnav that they meet, and then the seed of Shraddha now starting in their heart, and then later on it can progress, and that will bring them direct to a direct path of bhakti. Understand? In the same way, those in that Gyan path, okay, they may be doing yoga or like Ashtanga yoga, whatever, for impersonal liberation. There may be impersonalists, but then it gives, because they associate with not materialists. They associate with like spiritualists. They know that they're spirit. So then it can give them also chance to associate with actual devotees. And again, they have the opportunity to hear about Bhagavan. That can change their misconceptions about God being impersonal like this. And then they can become a devotee. Understand? So these are all arrangement of Krishna. Like that. So this is what Haridas Thakur is telling to Lord Chaitanya. Bhagavan is so merciful. So he has arranged this path. So by following these processes, they're doing sukriti. So those karmis who are aiming only for their sense gratification, the sukriti there from that karma or from that shubha karma only leads to sense gratification. They may go to heavenly planets, they become rich, whatever. But that gives them still a chance to associate with devotees, and then they can have an opportunity to follow a direct path. Now, those in the Gyan path, the sukriti that they're doing can lead to what? Brahman effulgence, like merging, that liberation. But once they actually go to the direct path, now there is also another kind of sukriti, bhakti unmukha sukriti. This is actually, you engage in bhakti but you don't know. That's what happens when, those in the path of karma or those in the path of Gyan, they associate with devotees and somehow they engage in activities like the devotees, like they're following Ekadasi. They don't know.
People sometimes come to Vaishnavas to get some astrologers'
And then? What?
Then Vaishnavas engage in them.
Yeah, they engage them. Yeah, like they tell them, okay, you give charity, like this. You give a feast. So then they give a feast. But they're feeding like Vaishnavas. They're offering prasadam to Thakurji. So in a way, they're engaged in bhakti. But they didn't know. So this sukriti does not lead to sense gratification or liberation. It can lead to further association with devotees. That can put them on the right path of bhakti. You understand? So from that indirect path, then it puts them to the direct path. So this is what Haridas Thakur, he was telling. Oh, you are so merciful. You arrange like this. So this is your intervention. His intervention. And he was telling that in Satya Yuga, there's all these Yuga Dharmas, In Satya Yuga, what's the Yuga Dharma? Yeah, meditation. And then in Treta, Yagya, all this fire sacrifice, And then in Dwapara Yuga, deity worship. So he said now in Kali Yuga, all this path, the sun meditation, deity worship, this yagya, is not anymore like applicable. It's very difficult to follow. And he said, although it is said that this jnana and karma is like an indirect path that leads to a direct path, in Kali Yuga, it actually is corrupted. You have to understand. These indirect paths of jnana and karma are so corrupted that it makes the person really even difficult to help them come to the direct path. How is that? Because when we say, okay, the path of this karma may lead one to meet with the devotees. But like, it's very rare now. Most of those people following this karma, or like trying to encourage this, very rare are like our devotees. Mostly they're engaged all these things for sense gratification. Like even the path of, okay, like deity worship, which is like an archan, like anga of bhakti. Like even in this time, like who mostly engaging are this are like sense enjoyers. That they may tell people come help, but they're just being used also for their sense gratification, not really for service to Krishna, like this. So Haridas Thakur, he said like, oh, this is so difficult, but it's corrupted. So it's not anymore like very effective in Kali Yuga. Another thing is this path of Jnana and Karma. When you attain the goal, they have their own goals, right? When you attain the goal, then that's it. They're all like very temporary. You leave them. You leave them behind. Let's say you do your yajna. Now when you become rich, then you don't do yajna anymore, right? So they're all these paths are all temporary, like this. Haridas, he said, he was talking to Mahaprabhu. It's like, you are Krishna himself, you're very merciful. You know the situation in Kali Yuga. So he said, life of people also very, very short. And the body and the mind of the people are very weak. So he said sadhana is very difficult. So he said for them, like so merciful, you yourself have come and you have established the Yuga Dharma, which is, what is that? Chanting the holy name, Sankirtan. Harinam, like Harinam Japa, Harinam Sankirtan. Just by chanting your name, which is really none different from you, from God, then immediately, like the jivas will be on the path of bhakti. He's telling that this chanting of the names is the sadhana, and is both the sadhana and the sadhya, the goal and the means. Why is that? You see, our goal is prem, right? This love. When you attain prem, you don't stop chanting, because inherent part of prem is, like this deep relation with God. Meaning, the more you want to chant His name, because His name is not different from Him. Understand? So the more you remember Him, the more you remember His name, form, activities, like this. So qualities. So he said, this chanting of the whole name is like a very simple process, and it is the easiest. So this is his answer now. This is Haridas' answer. So this is the easiest way to deliver the jivas, and this is especially like Mahaprabhu. He asked this question, but then Haridas, he made it as a way to glorify Mahaprabhu. You yourself is giving this process. So that's why in the beginning, before Haridas answered this, he was crying, because he knows how merciful Mahaprabhu is. So now he's just trying to express everything from his heart, but in a very systematic way. He's first explaining like the glories of God and His different vaibhavs, the situation of the jiva, and now what is the easiest way of delivering the jivas in this Kali Yuga, through the chanting of the name. You understand? Easy? So we continue next meeting. That's how this chapter ended. And next